Hello, Tom.
Hello. How are you, Gigi?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome
Good.
back to Gigi. That's me in the 561. This gorgeous SoFlo day today. It is absolutely gorgeous today.
It sure is.
I am so pleased to have Mr. Tom Turner, writer, author of 15 books in the crime novel genre, and with me again today. So I thank you so much for coming back. So we have several things to talk about, Tom. So let's get to it. You have a brand new book out that has just launched, Palm Beach Taboo. Of your 15 novels, many of them start with Palm Beach, and your latest one is Palm Beach Taboo. So let's talk about that, and let's talk about you have some other new projects, and then there's some Hollywood things we want to get into, and so we have some things to cover.
Good.
So let's get started.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So,
by the way, I just want, as I said to you earlier, I was calling you Pam before, which is your real name, but
it is.
Gigi is your stage name, just like my nom de plume is Tom Turner, but my real name is Melvin Tarnowich. I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't. I did not know that. And
I just made it up.
I was just about to say, I'm very disappointed in myself because, as you know, I did very extensive research on you, and I was just about to say, I missed that. Oh, you're hilarious. It's so funny.
Well, you know, actually, on that subject, and I don't want to sidetrack on it, but so I was giving this little talk and reading at a library, and you know, the best part of it are questions. At the end of it, I got questions. One of them was, so what's your real name? It's not Tom Turner. I said, well, actually, it's Thomas, but you can call me Tom. So that is my name.
And it's the perfect name for a writer. It's absolutely perfect. So tell us a little bit about your latest book, Palm Beach Taboo, because you have these great characters. You've done many other things. You also have written books set in Charleston and Savannah, but the majority are set here in the Palm Beaches. And you have pretty much a core group, an ensemble of 4 that in your books that kind of go through all of the scenarios together off and on. And so you have done real estate, and so you have gleaned material from many sources, and you use many locations that some are a bit disguised, that are real, but you disguise them, and then some are actually real places that you call out real streets and things like that. If you live in the Palm Beaches, you recognize that as you read your books. So let's talk about that process of developing these guys. Back in your first one was Palm Beach Nasty, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yes. Well, one of my favorite things, I think I mentioned this before, is going to bars. And it's not because I'm an alcoholic, because I'm not. But I like to go and I like to listen to people talk. And I've gotten really good at it to the point where I can track maybe 3 or 4 conversations at the same time.
Oh, you are good.
and have nobody know that I'm doing it. That's the big trick. You can't be focused on a couple who's having a conversation. You got to kind of be looking around, but at the same time your ears are taking it all in. Now, that was an answer to something entirely different from what you asked. So sorry, but I... No,
I like it. I like that. That's really good. That's really good to know. Do you closely identify with any of your characters?
Not really. I'd love to look like Charlie Crawford. I'd love to have the sort of cynical humor that Mordaunt has. They're basically just creations.
Yeah.
Let's say amalgams of characteristics from other people, in fewer cases with me. But but there's always a little bit. I mean, having certain autobiographical things is even if you don't plan it, it probably is just happens.
Right.
Because sometimes it's when I've stalled on a plot, I'll think of something in my life and somehow get it back on track by using a part of that incident in my life. So
now you tell us a little bit about, you've had some brushes with Hollywood in some way. Let's talk about that a little bit. Hollywood.
Sure. The first guy came to me through a film agent in L.A. And he was a pretty big deal. He was at one time president of Aaron Spelling Productions.
Oh.
And later on Orion, if you remember that name.
Yes.
And he had a bunch of shows, and their names are escaping me now, but there was one that was two female detectives in Boston. Does that?
Well, could that have been Cagney and Lacey? Cagney and Lacey? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But anyway, so the guy had been around and was experienced, and so the agent got this guy interested in it, and so next thing I know, he is pitching it to networks, streaming services like Amazon and Netflix and stuff. This is maybe 5 years ago, and this is what I remember most distinctly. It was like, Tom, we're on the verge. We're almost there. We got strong interest from NBC or whoever it was. And then it would fade away. That to be a little old and repetitious. And I said to him, Gary, it seems like I've heard this tune for the last 6 months. And I know that he got as far as in front of executives at various networks and streaming companies. And because after a while I said, would you send me their feedback? And he did. And so at that point I said, I'd kind of like to, I basically left it up to him to run the show and for me not to interfere, because what do I know about movies and TV except I love to watch them.
Right.
So he sent me this pitch, and what it was is, I guess let's call it an intention to pitch. So you send that first to, let's just say, NBC, and NBC says, no, we're not interested in crime shows or mysteries at this stage. We've got enough, or whatever. Or in most cases they said, yeah, we'd love to have a listen. So then he goes and does it face to face, and he does it. The producer does it face to face with what's called a showrunner. A showrunner is basically the person who brings all the elements together: the director, the star, and is also the head writer. So Gary and the showrunner did this, written thing, and so that I asked to see after about 4 or 5 of these or 10 of these things where we're almost there, it's about to happen, etc. I asked to read the thing, so I sent it to him, and I'll be damned if it didn't have 2 typos in it. And this is something that that the head of programming at NBC, where it had 2 typos in it, and not only that, my Charlie Crawford's partner is Mordad, as you know. Mordad is a white guy from Cleveland. He was suddenly black, and the 2 love interests of Charlie were now gay. and and I said I get that you like to make changes, and particularly now, the more varied you have as far as ethnic backgrounds. I get all that, but making Dominica and Rose gay, gay is fine. I got no problem with that, but it totally changed the whole complexion.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where it was going to go.
Yeah.
So at that point, I basically, he said he had 3 more pitches to make, and I said, Gary, I think we've given it a good shot, and I nicely said I don't want to go any further. So and that was sort of a long story, but and then I had another Hollywood guy interested, and he still may be, and I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to bore you with that whole story, but it's
you
amazing.
could never do that. You could never do that, but so.
Well, but it's I sort of don't want to sit by talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
I do.
Like,
I know exactly.
It could happen, but and as I mentioned to you, every writer is a liar if he says that ultimately he doesn't care about showing up on the big screen,
sure,
the small screen, or even your iPhone screen.
right.
Because that is what we would love to see.
Of course.
So I haven't given up hope. This other one is kind of alive, and who knows? Tomorrow something may come out of the blue.
I really hope so, because those characters are, and of course, I love an ensemble. I love where, and I understand why you would be upset with someone changing completely without your knowledge or permission. Your characters and the main focus of who they are, how you have developed these characters. And I think I've told you this before, these are people I'd want to hang out with. I'd want to go to the cop bar with them. It's like, let's go
or
hang
Taboo.
out.
You'd go there too.
Exactly
Wherever
right.
they'd want to go, you'd say yes.
Yeah, and to the listeners, Taboo is a real place on the island of Palm Beach that is absolutely a fun and wonderful place with great food to go. But yeah, so I get where you're coming from with being not too happy about that. I had someone that we know about, trying to buy your latest book, Palm Beach Taboo, and which I encourage everyone go find Tom's books, because they're a really fun read. They have compelling, really interesting characters, a great ensemble feel, and if you like that, then you will really enjoy his characters. So go do that. But she had trouble, Tom. Let's talk about the frustration, or maybe not, but just I would think, challenge of book placement and getting them. She couldn't find her book. She went to Barnes & Noble, and she was unable to get it at Barnes & Noble. Now, maybe now that she has asked for it, maybe she will be able to get it, because sometimes when you ask, they will begin to get those books in. But your books are mainly available through Amazon, and talk me through that if that's not correct.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And think about it. My books will never be at Barnes & Noble as long as I'm with Amazon. Think about what Amazon has done to bookstores.
Yeah.
It's mom and pop bookstores have been crushed by Amazon.
Yeah.
Big chains like Books A Million, and there's another big one, and Barnes & Noble, by the way, is just kind of hanging on. Amazon is the Leviathan,
mm-hmm.
the monster that's come along and just killed them. So Amazon is my employer. Jeff Bezos doles out a measly check to me monthly, and so I found that in the business it's called going wide, and going wide means you're with everybody. I have found, though, that my deal with Amazon is because Amazon sells 85% of self-published and paperback books. I could be off by a decimal or two, but approximately. So, it makes all the sense in the world for me to stay with them, and they make it very attractive for writers.
Right.
There's something called, well, it's too complicated to get into, but it's called KDU, which is a Kindle program where they pay me by the number of words that people read daily, and somehow they're able to compute that. And there'll be days when on KDU Kindle, they will compute that that 90,000 people have read my pages. I'm sorry, that's 90,000. Is it pages or words? I think it's pages. And then they times that times something, and they come up with that's one of the ways they pay you.
Oh,
in addition to, they pay me 70%, for every paperback I sell or audiobook I sell, versus a traditional publisher like one of the big four, or maybe they're down to the big three now. When it all boils down, they pay you about 18% of the gross, versus I get 70%. Why wouldn't I be with Amazon?
Exactly. Now, do you have a preference for people? Does it matter? Are you happier to see that people buy audio, Kindle, paperback, or is it just as long as people are buying? It's you don't really recommend, hey, you're going to enjoy it more if you can hold it in your hand and have it shipped, or if you're reading it on your device. Or do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't really. Everybody. For example, I bought a Kindle a year ago and haven't used it yet. I am a physical book reader. I've got a stack right next to me here. That's the way I read. But then my daughter reads on her phone. I can't. I just could never adapt to that. And I as far as audiobooks go, I have a phenomenal narrator they're called, for my audiobooks. I love listening to him. But so I don't care, as long as they read them, however they do it. Makes me happy.
Now, you're working on a new project, though, right now. Now that you have your launch has happened with Palm Beach Taboo, and I keep saying that because I want people to go and buy it because it's just a great book. You're throwing back in time a little bit in your next project.
Yes. It goes back to, I lived in New York City in the 70s and 80s, which was Studio 54 and just sort of a raucous scene. It was so much fun. I lived there both single and later on married. So this is somewhat autobiographical, and it follows 5 friends from when they first moved to New York until present day. I love it, but it's venturing into the territory of writers like Jay McInerney, who wrote Bright Lights, Big City, and Tom Wolfe and Bret Easton Ellis, and they've set a very high bar. Yeah. So, I am going to edit that and re-edit that and send it to my developmental editor over and over until I really get it right, because it's in the backyard of those 3 writers I mentioned, and it better be good, or people are going to say, boy, this guy's a hack. He can't keep up with those other 3. So,
do you have a target in mind of a date, or just it's too fluid to tell?
Yeah, too fluid to tell. I would say probably a year to a year and a half.
Oh, I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll be one of my early readers. I would love to. I have readers that that are my early readers and give me critiques, which are invaluable, as you can imagine. So maybe you'll graduate to that team.
I would love to graduate to that team. Well, tell us what else is going on in your life right now with the launch of your latest book, and are you just being very busy? I know trying to promote and market and all of that. It's difficult when you are a writer. You don't have time because you want to write, but also given the circumstances of 2020 and 2021, where marketing and promotion of anything is a challenge and really difficult. How do you feel like you have dealt with that?
Well, so I gave you the pros of self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
In that you get, a lot more piece of the pie, etc. But what I didn't give you are the cons, and the cons are plentiful. So I don't have any advertising department as they have at Knopf or Random House or one of those places.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the advertising department. I'm the marketing. I'm the promotional. Well, even though I once upon a time was in the advertising business in New York, I don't want to do that. I just want to write. So in the past, I've hired people to do all this stuff, and I'm going through a hard time at the moment because I was with somebody for a number of years and no longer am, and her successor is actually a company, and I hope they're not listening, but they're not doing a very good job.
Mm.
And so, I'm really looking. I'm beating the bushes to try to find somebody. So, any of you people out there in radio land, podcast land that have skills as an author's assistant, give me a call. I'm a desperate man. But it is a ton of work, and it's a whole new vocabulary that you have to learn and understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about ads on Facebook and ads on Amazon and ads on something called BookBub, which you probably haven't heard of, but is the biggest market force, and doing newsletters biweekly. No. What is biweekly? Twice a week? No, once every 2 weeks. And I have a Facebook group which is called, and I urge people to check it out, Tom Turner Crime and Mystery, I think it is, or Tom Turner.
It is. That's exactly what it is. I made a comment on it the other day. I took a guess.
So, but I got to feed these things. I gotta do posts. I've got to come up with pictures from. I created this thing called, I think I mentioned it to you, the Boat of the Week. I'm looking at my window right now at 1 million boats because the boat show was just here.
Yeah.
And so I created this Boat of the Week, and so I got to keep my eye out for interesting looking boats come by. So it's a ton of stuff, and it's very time consuming, and I just don't want to do it, but I have to be involved in it. But now I'm too involved in it.
Now, if someone that's listening wants to pursue it a little bit, how do they do that? How should they contact you or your representative or whatever?
I'm my representative.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Here, I'd be happy to give out my email.
Okay.
That's not a problem with you, is it?
Not at all.
Okay, so it is Tom, T-O-M, Turner, T-U-R-N-E-R, 1221 at gmail.com. Or I give you why not? I'll give you my cell phone. It's 516, which is a Long Island number where I spend part of the summer. 516-404-7099. I mean, I'm serious. If somebody can fill the void, I need you.
Okay, well, fair enough. And so everyone listening out there, take heed, because this man he needs help, and he needs to be able to write, because I want to read this new project that you have coming.
Well,
Oh.
there's other ones coming out. There's another one. There's the third in the Charleston series coming out in, I think, August.
Oh, okay. What's the name of it?
Charleston Noir.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then there's the second in the Savannah series coming out in the fall, and I don't have a title for that, but it'll be Savannah something, because all my books have, the names of the places where they are set in them. So it'll be Savannah. Its predecessor was called the Savannah Madam, and this will be Savannah. I don't know what yet. And then I've got another Charlie Crawford coming out in early 2022. So all these things are written and ready to go.
Gosh.
Because, as I mentioned to you before, I have no life except writing.
See, you do that so that we get to sink into someone else's life when we're reading, because that's the beauty of it, that you get there and reading your books. You set the scene so beautifully that you're right there with them, and and I said, I'll say it one more time. These are people I want to hang out with. I would want to sit down and have a gin and tonic and kick around the topics of the day. That I think they're wonderful characters, and you are a wonderful podcast guest again. And Mr. Tom Turner, thank you so much for being here again. Is there anything that we have not covered in this podcast that we should?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it.
Right.
Thank you for your great questioning and your extensive research. That was very impressive. You knew stuff about me that I've forgotten.
Well,
or made up
was,
or whatever.
It was a joy to read all about you and to learn about you and to have you. And I hope I'm gonna put you on the spot right here, that you will come back once again in the future and talk about your new projects and things that are coming, because I enjoy our chats very much.
Me too. We'll make them a regular thing.
Oh, I'm going to hold you to that, Tom Turner. I'm going to hold you to that. Okay. And to everyone, you know what to do. You need to go to northpalmbeachlife.com, where you will see a photo of Tom Turner, this wonderful writer that I'm chatting with on the podcast today. And also there are links there, and we will have information as to how to contact him as well. Always these podcasts are on the website, northpalmbeachlife.com, but they're on many other platforms, too many to name: iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, to name a few. Always a pleasure to have all of you here listening to these wonderful interviews, these people that are gracious enough to come on, like Tom Turner, to visit with us in Gigi. That's me in the 561. Stay tuned.